Good morning. So I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for the opportunity and spending time with you today. I've got a couple of topics that I want to cover, and I know that you're going to spend a lot of time together over the next 2 days, hopefully kind of dissecting these topics. So I wanted to start with some thought process. So the pace of change is relentless, as you can probably imagine. As a technologist, I feel this every day. We saw Steve Jobs implement and launch the iPhone. So that was actually 10 years ago. And I think if we reflect on that and think about how much the world has changed in that 10-year window, it's pretty extraordinary. So the first iPhone 10 years ago, and all of us, I assume, have iPhones that we use to navigate our life every day. So that was really an inflection point for technology, for all of us. And it definitely had a consequence for mobile banking and for this industry and how customers interact with this industry. So let me expand on my remarks. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of topics. So one is, will mobile banking wipe out branches? So that's one question. Will robots replace traders? Will blockchain be a game changer for our industry? Will financial data remain secure? Will financial services remain relevant? So these are all very important questions and points. And I've read a few articles, hopefully some of you in the room maybe wrote or didn't write the articles, that it was an obituary for banking. So basically that banking in years to come is not going to exist. And I would say I'd completely differ with that. Banking will be around. The methods of how we bank and how all of our customers interact with us will indeed change, but banking will be around. So in my role, I see all of these developments as opportunities to transform banking. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to rip up the playbook and to establish something revolutionary. This is why I decided to join financial services. I've now been in this industry for coming on 3 years. And it's really why I came to financial services. So at Deutsche Bank, we are engineering the bank of the future. And it's a thrilling challenge, not for the faint-hearted at times, but definitely a challenge that we all embrace. And not to mention the critical role the industry plays in supporting and driving the global economy, from financing ideas to managing payments and helping companies to grow at its core. That's the role of financial services in society in total, and that's why we're relevant. So I'm going to talk about 6 topics today: mobile banking, data, cloud technology, automation, distributed ledger, and cognitive technologies. So I think these are extremely important 6 topics for any industry, definitely for financial services, but for any industry. So I'm going to talk to you about what Deutsche Bank is doing regarding these trends. So first, mobile banking at your fingertips. Do you remember the last time that you completed a paper-based banking transaction? Yeah? Do you remember the last time? This is no longer commonplace. It's second nature to use an app on online banking to transact. Even online banking could be a secondary consideration for us and many of our clients, particularly when it comes to millennials. So that age between kind of 1980 to 2000s, the millennial generation. So you can see the picture. We have our Deutsche Bank mobile app that we announced in April of this last year. When we have many of our customers using this application, and we're now at about 2.5 million customers that are using the mobile app. And what we're doing with this technology is every 4 to 6 weeks, we're doing what are called sprints, adding more content to this mobile banking application. And we'll continue to evolve that and provide more and more content and services through the mobile banking application. So I'm very proud of the work that the team has done on that topic. We've also, for our institutional and corporate clients, we've provided a mobile app for them as well. It's an application called AutoBahn. We've won a lot of awards on this application. And this is a platform that allows our institutional and corporate clients to also interact with us. And that's called AutoBahn. Today, we also have more than 7,000 employees in our German branch network that are working on iPads and dashboard. They have dashboard applications to better serve our clients. And that will continue to evolve the interaction in the branches, how we provide our employees in the branches, our team members in the branches, capability to interact with our customers in a more real-time fashion. We'll continue to evolve that. And so I would say to you, the ability to bank 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is not just a nice to have, it's mandatory. It is what everyone expects, and technology needs to be always available. So when you want to do banking, the technology needs to be available, it needs to work. So I would say, will the term working day continue to be relevant? And I think people expect the services, our customers expect the services wherever they are, any time of the day. So that's going to continue to be extremely important and relevant. And you can also see that we have launched on the Apple Watch. We were one of the first banks to actually do that. So that, again, the services and content will continue to evolve. Mobile will become mandatory. Mobile first of everything that we provide in terms of services will be extremely important. Okay, so the second topic I want to talk about, so that is me looking into a virtual reality device. And when I saw the Bluetooth headset, it made me think, I wonder who's actually listening to this conversation in the Bluetooth capability. So what is going to continue to happen here is the content of data and actually being able to see data real time and see what is happening with your customer data. So what we are doing and what we have launched is, we call it our data lab in Ireland. The team termed it the Hive. And what this is we have about 50 data scientists in this lab. And what we're attempting to do is, how do we use data to provide more customer contact, more customer services, be able to sense and respond what customers want. We also use the data scientists to actually solve internal company challenges that we have. So we are going to continue to evolve this topic. The capability of your data and actually having clean customer data is going to be extremely important going forward, because you have to be able to provide services and using that data to then define those customer services and define that customer interaction. That will continue to be important. So we're spending a lot of time investing on cleaning up our data. So cleaning up the customer data, getting consistency of customer data, and cleaning up what's called reference data across the firm. That's going to continue to be extremely important. And what I was looking at in this picture was a visual representation of that data. and watching how so not to have, I wasn't looking at specific client data, but data themes of what is actually happening in terms of what our clients need. And so you watch the data flows and the interconnectedness of the data, and you try and figure out themes of service that you could actually provide to our customers. So this will continue to evolve, this whole topic of clean data, watching the data, using the data to create more services. Using the data to create more services. Now, there's also, high sensitivity around social media and how much information you actually put on social media and how that information is actually protected. That topic will continue to be important. Teenagers and youngsters, it's sometimes hard to coach them to not necessarily do that. But that generation will continue to be very open with what they're doing. And it's an opportunity for companies to make sure you can sense and respond what customers actually want, even if they're the next generation of customers. So figuring out how to use that in a very safe, protected, high data privacy environment, extremely important. The third topic that I wanted to talk to you about is the cloud. So, wonderful picture of the cloud. It looks like we're flying on, hopefully, a Boeing airplane. So a key target for Deutsche Bank that we've focused on is to establish a private cloud solution. Okay, so whenever I'm talking to the regulators, they say, well, Kim, are you talking about a public cloud? Does this mean you have all your data in the cloud? What exactly are you talking about? What I'm talking about is a private cloud solution, and I'll talk to you about that. So what we're establishing is a private cloud environment for our IT infrastructure. So this is setting up a highly virtualized, highly standard private cloud environment. And what we have set up and are establishing is the ability to pay as you go for computing power. And it allows the technology teams to stand up content very fast. So they can decide what IT infrastructure they're going to run on. We do a pay-as-you-go model. It allows me over time to surge to a public cloud when the security protocols are actually there and allow that. And that will happen in our lifetime. So positioning your companies to be able to surge not only from a private cloud, which is in a data center that you would secure, but also surge to a public cloud. That will happen in our lifetime. We will be using AWS and other, to be determined public cloud offerings. So setting up your IT infrastructure to actually allow you to do that, extremely important. Because otherwise you're carrying fixed costs that aren't competitive advantage. So we have that in flight, and I'm very happy. And that's going to allow us to do work for our customers in a much faster fashion. Okay, so I feel like I'm going back to my roots as a mechanical engineer, and automotive is where I started, designing chassis frames. So I don't know if you knew that when you picked this picture. So I think it's extremely important for this industry to embrace automation. And one of the ahas that I had coming into this industry is we didn't always have enough automation and standardization of what we were doing. So standard process, standard set of technology components. Complexity actually is complexity does not drive competitive advantage. Complexity drives competitive advantage if you can generate a lot of revenue from that complexity, but complexity usually drives incremental cost and risk. So automation is extremely important. So as the moderator suggested, so I came from and grew up in automotive. I was in automotive for 16 years. I spent 5 years at the Boeing company. So most of my life has spent in industrial companies. which is this engineering the bank kind of mentality. So that's my training. That's where I've grown up. And so the automotive sector, if any of you have studied this in detail, evolved from Henry Ford's assembly line to today's robot-assisted production line. And so we can actually think about banking processes. So there are about 145 processes that run a bank, okay? And what we're thinking about is how do we automate those key processes? And the plan for automation is to reduce cost, reduce risk, improve customer experience. Okay? Reduce cost, reduce risk, improve customer experience. So if we take our key banking processes, how do we drive automation into those key banking processes? So to give you an example, in our private wealth and commercial client business, what we call PWCC, everything in life has an acronym, we are looking at the use of bots and robotic process automation to run automated tasks. So there are tasks that happen on a consistent basis, that are repetitive, that can indeed be automated. And so this is a pilot we call Chatbot. It's due for release next year. And then we'll continue to evolve that and progress that. So automation, I think, it's extremely important for this industry to drive competitive advantage and change into this industry. And that's really what we're focusing on. So now let me talk about the fifth topic, which is this topic of distributed ledger technology. So you've probably heard the term blockchain. So this distributed ledger technology, known as blockchain. So this has triggered the imagination of many. And technologists, we like to kind of attach ourselves to terms. You know, big data is a term, blockchain, cloud computing. So sometimes they have some more hype than what there is substance underneath it. However, this one I think is a bet for the future. So let me give you some statistics. The World Economic Forum suggests that more than 1.4 billion US dollars of venture capital investments have been made over the last 3 years on this topic. And over 2,500 patents have been filled for distributed ledger technology. So lots of people are working on this opportunity set. So the general sentiment is that this technology is going to have a significant impact on financial services and business models industry-wide. However, it is crucial that exploration and development are driven by actual market needs, which is understood. So at Deutsche Bank, we are exploring the potential of technology in-house in partnership with our Deutsche Bank labs, which I'm going to talk about coming up, and collaboration with a few fintech startup companies. So as an example, what we are doing. So we're building on a smart contract corporate bond that we started in 2015. And I'm very, very pleased with what we've proven out with this pilot. It's important to pilot things and kind of prove out the capability before you get into full-blown launch mode. And all of you as technology executives know that you need to prove it and engineer it to work. So we'll continue working on this. We've also joined the Utility Settlement Coin Consortium to follow on the exploration of digital concepts, such as digital cash, for example. So this is a very hot debate, you know, will cash be around in years to come, et cetera, et cetera. We will all live through that debate. And, but this is capability, this distributed ledger technology is very important. So basically what we're doing in this space is what I call pure technology testing. So advanced research and development. And we're going to continue evolving this topic because I think this is an important bet to make for this industry. And getting on the front foot of trying to prove out the capability set of this blockchain distributed ledger is going to be very important. And we're spending a lot of time with the central banks and the regulators on this topic, because having them kind of be there in the journey of this with us is extremely important. The sixth topic that I'd like to talk to you about, and you can probably see this is the Amazon Echo. I have not bought the Amazon Echo yet. I think when I enter my house, you know, turn the lights on, if you could get me a cup of tea. But this cognitive technology is the sixth point that I think is a bet. It's a bet to make for your companies. So let me talk to you about some examples. This is a hands-free speaker that you control with your voice and basically give commands. The Hong Kong subway system is another example that boasts a 99.9% on-time record using cognitive technology to plan engineering works for minimal disruption. So if you've ever ridden on the Hong Kong subway, they're using cognitive technology. This technology offers a real edge. We're looking at it and combining with big data, so how you're using the data to create new services using this cognitive technology. Extremely important, and I'd say big bet. So while I talked about earlier, cleaning up your data so you understand the customer data, you have client identifiers for your customer data, you need to get that cleaned up because that's the foundation of being able to build on cognitive technology, as an example. So these will continue evolving. Voice command, ease of use for our customers in any of their processes, how they're using mobile, how we use voice commands to actually conduct work. This topic will continue to evolve and be extremely important. So I'd say to be successful in our digital journey, we believe we need to embrace 3 tactics. And I thought I would share the 3 tactics with you. So tactic 1. Tactic 1. So pre-crisis, as financial services, we all went through a boom and adapted more advanced technology. So I can talk about Deutsche Bank. When I joined the bank, I'd say complexity reigned. I had one of everything everywhere, things not necessarily wired together in a very robust fashion. Very, very highly complex. And you reflect on that and say, well, why did you end up there? The why you ended up there was high growth times without, I call it architectural maps of how you were wiring the place in the future. So we had lots of process overlap, lots of duplication of systems, and no real kind of architectural roadmap of how you were building the house for the future. So that complexity just continued to evolve and grow for many, many years. So that was the problem statement when I walked into the bank 3 years ago. So post-crisis, so this is in the 08, 09, 2010 timeframe. And I definitely have implemented it since I joined the bank. We've been working on a standardized approach. So standardization is the first tactic that I would say is extremely important. So getting the IT infrastructure of the bank standardized, consistent, virtualized, prepared for private and public cloud computing, and cleaned up. Because if you don't have the foundation, I call it the foundation of the house or the foundation of the company, actually working, really stable foundation, it's hard to build the rest of the technology stack on top of that. So you have to start with cleaning that up. So we're moving, I mean, if you can believe it, I had 45 operating systems. We're moving to 4. It's like, you know, every operating system that was ever invented by anyone is in the company. So I had kind of one of everything. We're moving to 4 by 2020, and we're making very good progress on that. We're also setting up and standardizing. We've standardized 27% of our applications to run on this standard IT infrastructure, and we'll continue making progress, more and more progress on that as every year passes. By the end of this calendar year, we'll be at 35% of the applications running on that standard infrastructure. And by 2020, it'll be 85%. So getting that foundation of standardization in place, extremely important. Because if you don't have this in place, what it basically means is this competitive advantage that you can drive with your application sets, the digital content, the mobile content, the data incremental services that you can provide for your customers, you've got to get the foundation of this set up. So that's tactic 1, standardization. Tactic 2 is partnership. So I'm constantly saying within the bank, and I spend a lot of my time coaching and counseling and guiding teams on how to work together. I think this is extremely important for companies to drive competitive advantage. And it's not just internal working together, it's also external working together. So here's a picture of our chief data officer. I call him the chief scientist. His name is JP Rangaswamy. And he's basically said, and I totally agree with him, that you can't innovate in isolation. And I think that's, you know, one of the big life learnings. You can't innovate in isolation. Innovation only happens when there is adoption and partnership. So that's tactic 2, which is partnership. So we have actually massively embraced the fintech companies around the world. Sometimes people had the hypothesis of the fintechs are, you know, they will never get into banking because it's highly regulated, and so they'll never become a competitive threat. I've actually always thought they would be a competitive threat, and our point of view is to actually embrace them. The gift that they have in working with a company like ours is they learn to do things at scale, and they prove out their technologies at scale. So we have set up, here are our Deutsche Bank labs. We call them our innovation labs, DB labs. We've set up in 3 locations. These are basically an ecosystem to work proactively with partners around the world, accelerators and venture capitalists. And so right now we have one in Berlin, we have one in London, and we also have one in Silicon Valley. And I was just at the one in Silicon Valley last week with the extended management board. And I called it the field trip of meeting with technology companies to have the aha moment of how we need to continue to drive the bank going forward. And that's what we spent the time last week on. We've also established a digital factory. We have a digital factory that we recently launched in Sassenheim. We have I'm very excited about this, and the reason I'm so excited about this is a different working together model. So the goal is you walk into the digital factory and you can't really tell who's from the retail business, who's from technology, who's from operations, who's from compliance, who's from legal. It's just one team working on common solutions and common opportunities for our customers. And over time, we'll end up having 800 people in this digital factory. So the team there is working on 4 to 6 week sprints, what are called agile development sprints, to create content. And these will not necessarily be big bang launches, but incremental content for our customers. And we're very, very, very excited about that. We also have 50 seats or so in there that we will bring fintechs in there to actually work with us, kind of arm to arm. So very, very important. We also have the Tech Quarter in Frankfurt, which we're also proud to be a sponsor of. And again, think that's a very important collaboration and partnership. Here is a picture of the Cartier Future in Berlin. We've established this. This is the, I'd say, one of the most, or the most modern banking branches that we've set up, and we'll continue to evolve this and create content out of here, working again with the fintechs and the startups. So it's the, how does the branch concept to continue to evolve in the future and have a lot of digital content in a very different customer experience. So we think that that is also extremely important. So I talked about standardization and partnership, kind of 1 and 2 tactics. The third tactic is evolving how we work. I think, that when I started working many, many years ago, I won't tell you how long because then you can calculate my age. We had a very different working together model. And I think that now, especially with technology, that's going to continue to evolve. So really high partnership, pulling in people, the best experts in the world to actually help you, and everybody having the same mission, which is to create content for your customers. And that is what we're striving to create within our company, and we think that's extremely important. So just a couple more slides. We also have had an app-a-thon. So we have opened up our APIs. So these are the application protocols, the interfaces. We've opened up the APIs like other high-tech companies have done. We think this is important because we want developers from around the world to actually be able to help us. And you need to do it in a safe and secure way, which we're doing and have done. And we had an app-a-thon we've had now a couple of app-a-thons, hackathons, and really fun event because you have developers from around the world that actually help you develop content. And what I would end with is a couple of things. And I think it's important just to have this self-reflection. So I've talked about the 3 tactics. I've talked about the 6 topics that we're focusing on. I think that, for me, the self-reflection is, how are you using technology to drive competitive advantage? And so John Crine, our CEO, has talked about that banking is really, technology is driving banking. The operational processes will continue to be automated, again, using technology. The customer experience will continue to evolve using digital mobile content. And I think that it's thinking about, as a technologist, what do you need to get in place to be able to drive that competitive advantage using technology? So understanding the customer processes, understanding the customer interaction. Who are the companies around the world that you can actually partner with? Where's your competitive advantage that you need to keep in-house? And having that self-reflection to be able to understand that. And at the end of the day, you're only as good as people with you. So having the best talent around you, I'm really lucky because I have some awesome people that we've promoted, recruited, brought into the company. And you're only as good as people with you. So having the best and brightest technologists, extremely important. So this last calendar year, we've hired about 1,500 engineers, software developers. We will continue doing that. The year before that, it was even higher. And next year, it's going to be in that same range. So the kind of, I call it the technology brain power is going to be firing on all cylinders for this company. And because that is really the competitive advantage. And it doesn't mean that we won't be using partners. We absolutely will be using partners, but we also need to fuel that with some very serious computer scientists and engineering talent within the company, which is exactly what we are doing. So thank you very much for the time, and I hope that I've sparked some ideas for you, and hopefully it's been a good start to your couple-day session.